Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Arna Sahu, host of Arna's News, and if you are a newcomer, welcome to this channel. I give you warm greetings digitally. Today, we are with a special guest, Miss Priya Natarajan. She is the founder and CEO at Home Casa, a property management software in the industry. You can communicate with landlords, property managers, and tenants. While also being an avid founder and CEO, she's also a member of the board of advisors at Atrinet and is a strategy and marketing consultant at Agnite. Check out Homecasa's website, www.homecasa.io. I'll have more information in the description. If you are here again, thank you for clicking back to this podcast. With that said, make sure to come back to this podcast channel every other week for a new episode. All right, so I have a few questions for you. What made you interested in technology/STEM and educating others?
Okay, well, that's a good question. I enjoyed problem solving when I was a kid. Science was fun. The idea of building something and seeing how it impacts others is quite interesting. And it's also quite rewarding, frankly. You can create a system, you can change a few parameters, and that would automatically produce different results. And that experimentation was very exhilarating. You can apply science to solve people's pain. There is something innately fulfilling about that, right? So you create a solution, someone uses it, and their pain point is addressed. That's definitely rewarding. The other thing that got me interested in science is that science is everywhere. Whether you think about your day-to-day activities or whatever you do, there is science. Even in the kitchen, when your parents cook up a meal, science is involved. There is a particular order in which they put the ingredients so that the food tastes properly and it's cooked well. So there is so much chemistry that goes on, and even in that, that's what got me interested in science. The second part of your question is, why am I educating others? I think it's kind of paying forward. Many people helped me to get to where I am. I didn't come here by myself. There have been a lot of helping hands. And hopefully, by sharing my experience, it inspires others to try this very engaging and rewarding profession, hopefully.
All right, so what are the best resources that have helped you find your career path?
Best resources. I wouldn't say that there was just one thing. It's evolved over time. If you look at my career, in fact, it keeps evolving. I've done different things even within the area of STEM. So, in general, I would say doing what you're doing has helped me quite a bit. Talking to different people, figuring out what they do, how they do it, what interests them. I think that has been a big guidance. Also, I would say a big part of where I am today is luck and having the right opportunity at the right time.
Okay, and then what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours?
Okay. The biggest thing about being in STEM is about being open to learning and having your ideas challenged, right? It is about constantly exploring new things, finding out new ways to solve the same problem or solving new problems in different using an existing approach. It's all about how you keep trying, even if the very first product that you create is not great. I think it's about trying. You keep trying, you keep iterating, and then over time it gets better. Your skills will improve, and before you know it, you'll be innovating instead of just recreating someone else's experiment or following directions. So I think it's very important to have that curiosity and have the trial and error approach. And most importantly, just do it with passion and joy. No matter what you do, you'll do very well as long as you do that. And I think you'll definitely be at the best of your ability and potential when you are having fun doing something.
Okay, and then what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
Many things, but I would say trying to be a perfectionist is a tough one. I think in general, it took me a while to realize that I'm my own worst critique. In general, women are more prone to this than men are. So instead of trying to be a perfectionist, it's important to focus on continuous iteration, right? So that's where progress will be made.
Okay, and then what was a big challenge that you faced?
Okay, so I started my career in the Western world, even though I was raised in Asia, in India. There's a lot of differences in communication and culture. Um, Often, I would say I was the only woman in the room. So what I said initially didn't matter much, particularly during the early days of my career. Some other man in the same room would just repeat what I had said, and everyone would acknowledge him and praise the idea, even though I was the first one to come up with it. So learning how to break the cycle and how to be heard in a room was the biggest challenge, I would say, and that took a while to learn.
Okay. And then what is a common myth about your profession that you would want to debunk?
This is interesting. This goes back to the conversation that we just had before we started the recording. A common myth is that STEM is hard. While there may be some truth to it, there are many aspects to STEM, and STEM is not that hard. STEM is for anyone who wants to solve problems, right? And who want to be a part of the solution. It is for anyone who wants to create. So if you want to create a solution, whatever the solution is, then you're already applying STEM in one way or the other. Um, in a way, it's pretty cool to create something with your own hands and see it come to life and see how others use and benefit from it. We all use science in our life every day, like you and I talked about earlier. Whether you're listening to this podcast or whether you're listening to watching a video or you're driving your electric car, you're using STEM in more than one ways. Even if it is a piece of code that you write, you keep changing the parameters and produce different results. Or if it is a system that you're integrating, you produce different results every time you change a few parameters. It's quite rewarding to see how something you created can produce different outcomes based on different inputs. So it's a very rewarding experience, honestly. And STEM is unfortunately treated with a lot of intimidation here, but it is not. It's fairly easy and it is fun to work on.
Okay. And then if you could step into my shoes, what would you have asked yourself? What would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
Your shoes. I wish I was like you when I was your age. I wasn't. But that said, um, I would focus on trying to get to the bottom of things. Try to figure out what's the underlying reason you want to do something. Anything for that matter, right? Drill to the why. What is the driving factor behind it? Um, I think once you get to that key driving factor, the crux of the issue, then you can figure out what you want to do, no matter whether it's STEM or arts or whatever it is you choose to do. Once you know what is driving you, it's very easy to find ways to address that. I think that's the biggest thing that I would say.
Okay. And then how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things within your role?
Mm. One of the biggest things that we can gift ourselves is the ability to observe and contemplate, right? Look at problems regardless of whatever domain it is. For example, I developed the skill to learn from any domain. When I say domain, it would be different areas of interest, whether it is art or cleaning or operations or logistics or education or healthcare. All of these have problems. Every domain has problems, and you have to find solutions to address them. And many of these solutions or the ideas behind the solutions and the framework are transferable across domains. So once you recognize how to identify the pattern or how to connect these dots, it becomes easier to adapt these solutions and apply it to your area of focus. I would say so. Be open-minded, and that's what has helped me quite a bit. Where I don't necessarily limit myself to just pure computer science or hardware engineering or whatever, right? So I focus on a variety of areas and pick up whatever I can from each one of these domains and apply it to my area. So that cross learning definitely has helped me. um, the other thing is, like, when I was your age, for example, I didn't necessarily have access to internet, but now it's a different story. You have democratic access to information and pretty much ubiquitous access to internet. So this definitely helps you to learn quite a few things from anywhere. The other thing I would say is try volunteering, right? When you volunteer, you learn a lot of new skills, and people will be very patient and kind enough to teach you. And you can then learn all these skills and apply it to the new job that you're going to. So pick up the skills and the job will follow.
Okay. And then what do you think is the vital factor that shaped your career in life? What was your life before learning it, and what was your life after learning it?
Mm, interesting question. I'd say I used to give too much importance to work, and I measured my personal success based on my success at work. Um, Once I realized this and changed it, work became fun. I started focusing on other aspects of life. I started pursuing hobbies, and I say hobbies in plural, it's never one. I have a few hobbies. And then I started developing interests outside of work. So once I started focusing outside of work, ironically or funnily, my work became even more interesting and it positively impacted what I was doing in my career. So it has helped me to find my next steps in my career quite well, whether it was my second career or my third career.
Okay. And then who's your biggest role model slash biggest influence on your life?
Mm. Biggest role model or influence? There is no one answer to this question. I think it changes based on evolving interests at different times. For me, it's always about a particular domain that I'm interested in at any given moment, at any given time. It's not necessarily about one person, but it's rather about a group of people who are leading in that area. So I try to learn from as many of them as possible, and then apply that to my specific area of work. Whether it's engineering or painting or marketing, it's taking inspiration from a wide variety of people, right? So that's what it's about. I would say I don't necessarily settle for one inspiration. You have so many people to be inspired from in every domain. So there is no one inspiration for me. That's probably not the answer you're looking for, but that's how it works for me.
Okay. And then what was your lowest point in life, and how did you overcome that obstacle?
Lowest point in life. Geez, there's so many. I think I would say life always has a way of teaching lessons, and many lessons for some people. Um, every low point feels like this is the lowest point. I've been through that quite a few times, I would say. Um, the biggest lesson overall, the overarching theme, again going back to connecting the dots and identifying the pattern, is about building resilience. If you allow that capability in you, right? If you once you build resilience in you, then you can look at each obstacle and say, okay, sure, this is a tough time, I'm going through this period, but how do I get out of this? How do I navigate this situation? So you start creating a plan, and then you start executing on the plan, and find your way out of that. And once you have gone through this a few times, I guess there is a repertoire where um, it's like your database. You can pull in a solution from here, a bit of a solution from there, and apply it to the new lowest point that you have.
Okay. And then what's the most common reason for people failing and giving up, in your opinion? Do you have any tips to succeed?
Mm, okay. I would say one of the things that's becoming more common in the era of short attention span is that people are looking for uh, quick results or instant gratification. Again, not everyone, but some, and that's one of the key reasons I think we tend to fail. We need to try for a bit longer and keep trying different approaches until we get to the solution that we want to. The other thing that I would say is that sometimes people overthink and they don't know where to start. There is this analysis paralysis mode, and that is not healthy either. So try not to be perfect, get started, keep iterating. That's what I would say. Also, the other thing that I would say is focus on developing transferable skills and attributes. What I mean by this is, let's say if you develop your analytical skills, no matter what problem you're facing, then you can get to the bottom of it, root cause it, and then figure out how you're going to address the problem. if you don't get to the root cause, you're constantly going to be managing the symptoms of the problem without necessarily eradicating the problem, right? Likewise, the other one that I would say is develop communication skills so that you can clearly articulate and simplify things for regular people, even who don't necessarily speak the technical lingo. This is really, really important no matter which career you choose. As long as you can articulate and be clear about what you want to accomplish or what the situation is, I think it becomes so much easier to find solutions to that problem.
And okay. And lastly, do you have any tips for the audience?
Yeah, I would say do something that you enjoy doing, regardless of the domain. Don't limit yourself to just one. Even within STEM, it's such a broad area. You can go in so many different specializations, and you can apply something from one to the other, either directly or indirectly. Learning all these things will come in handy, and they do come together at some point in your life. I'll give an example, right? For example, I would say I enjoy painting. And when I moved from engineering to marketing, I was able to create really compelling technical presentations because of my art for the eye, or rather the eye for the art. I apologize, eye for the art. Likewise, keep other hobbies. Do not just focus only on one thing. These hobbies come in quite handy. In my case, real estate was a hobby for me, and eventually it became a career now at Home Casa, where we offer the best property management software. I would say also the other thing for people in your age group is to just enjoy life, and don't focus too much on planning every aspect of your life. Sure enough, it is important to take care of your finances and ensure you have a stable future. But at the same time, let go and have fun in life, enjoy each phase of life, because you get those opportunity only a limit for a limited time, and enjoy it as much as you can.
All right. So, thus, that concludes the episode for this week. If you want to know more about how I relate to these amazing topics, then stay tuned for upcoming episodes. Check out Miss Priya's company, Home Casa, and check out her LinkedIn for more information. I'll have more info in the description. Make sure to come back to the channel every other week. Once again, thank you for finding me, and I hope we stay in touch with each other. Dito, you're listening to Arna Sahu, the host of Arna's News. Peace out. See you in 2 weeks. Toodles!